Well, even if they are a government agency, once they step outside of, once they cross a line and they interfere with your rights, they're no longer sovereign immunity that exists even on the public side. So that's what I always say to people. If you're a man, you have rights. A public official took an oath of office, and he's bound by certain rules or conducts. I'm not.
And so he has privileges and he has duties, as you say, and you're quite correct.
So if he crosses the line and he interferes with my rights in any capacity, whether it's a private capacity man to man, or capacity as a public figure, he's still subject to suit. Like, you can't sue the officer like the governor. The governor is a wonderful, marvelous creature, but the person who occupies the office, you could sue him once he crosses the line and interferes with your rights. Because the way the governor was established, the governor's office was established not to interfere with the rights of man. So if that man who's cloaked under the color of the governor usurps his duties and interferes with the rights of man, now that makes him liable. Like I said, whether he's private, public, or whether he's a common law man, if you interfere with the rights of another man, you are liable for a suit, for damages.
But most people don't realize it, so they never pursue it.
Right, so that's why I tell people, don't get too wound up whether it's private or public or man on man. If somebody interferes with your rights, slam them with a lawsuit. Just get it done. 1 page, 21 days, done. And let them try to answer it. Just, stop thinking about it. Just do it. Oh, yeah. I went through the same thing back in 79, 1980. I had 11 calls on my property, and just mine alone. And there was like 19 altogether with all my brothers and sisters, and the town tried to do something. I just laughed. And because my mom worked for the IRS, so we knew how to do this years ago. Like, what gives you the right to do? Tell us what we can and cannot do with our property. So I got lucky. Like I said, my mom worked for the IRS in 72, so she's known law for all those years. So as soon as somebody came after us, the first thing we'd say, by what right? And they don't have rights. So we say, okay, when you show us that you have the right to tell us what to do, we'll do it. Until then, go have a nice day. And that's how you can just stop everybody in their tracks. And like I said, some deputy guy tried to execute a warrant in debt for a lien on my sister one time. And he said to me after I went around with him for a couple of minutes, he says, I love you, man. He's like, I love people who know the law. He says, I don't have to do my freaking job now. He said, now I have a good excuse why I didn't have to go in your sister's house and take all her crap out of there and put it in storage to the attorney for the other side, because you know how to answer me. Because I just told him I'm the first in line. I had a lien on all her possessions. And he says, well, where's that lien? And I just pointed to my head, and I said, it's right here in my head. He said, well, how do I know it's true? I said, it's my lips. It's true. So, at first, he was being a wise guy. He knew the law. And he said after about 5-10 minutes going around me, he says, man, I love talking to people like you. He says, no, I don't have to go inside your sister's house and drag all the crap out of him. He says, I don't want to be a moving man. I want to be a sheriff. I want to be a deputy. I want to go chase the bad guys. I don't want to execute liens. He said, this is not what I thought my job was going to be. So see, these sheriffs and deputies, they don't want to execute liens. They're like, so as long as you know how to explain it to them, believe me, they don't want to go execute those liens. They'd rather go chase the bad guys. So, like I said, just got to make things really simple, and I try to make it as simple as I can for you folks. Like I said, I like you, Doc, and I like Mr. Hailstone. And you guys whip out those acts of 1802 and 1850. It's fun. It's fun listening to that stuff, but it's totally not necessary to, because there's a lot of people who email me who, you could tell, they barely made it out of the 8th grade. So but I was trying to explain that I really appreciate your approach, and I may, in fact, use that approach because it is simpler, and it does put them on the defensive. They can't answer it. Yeah, like I said, where I say that the people with the Jennifer Flowers case was a beautiful example, and then the other one, a great example I always give is Al Gore versus George Bush in 2000 before the United States Supreme Court. Because Al Gore brought a tractor-trailer load of hanging shared ballots to the United States Supreme Court. He brought dozens and dozens of attorneys to prove that the machines malfunctioned. And the United States Supreme Court heard his case in lightning speed, and they gave him a ruling in like 5 minutes. They said, you have one man who will come before the Supreme Court of the United States and testify under oath of affirmation that his vote wasn't counted, that his right to vote was interfered with. said no. They said, well, you have no case. Take it back to Florida. Let them figure
I
it out.
I always appreciate that story because I was laying in bed, laying on the couch for, 2 months after back surgery, watching a damn election and, and the hanging chads in Florida. And it was the last time, because I became more aware after that about the presidency and what that really means and what it doesn't mean, what bullshit it is. But, I was invested emotionally in that election. And the whole hanging chads thing, and I remember that thing about the Supreme Court you're talking about.
Right, but nobody ever remembers why they threw it out so fast. They just said, well, they didn't want to interrupt with the steady flow of government, so they didn't want to waste too much time, and there was really nothing the Supreme Court could do about it, so take it back to Florida and let the Secretary of State, some lady in Florida, figure it out.
It was rigged.
They didn't tell you that the NBC...
Yeah, Kathleen Harris was her name.
Right, but nobody told you nobody told you on CNN why the United States Supreme Court threw it out. Because there was not one man that came forward that said that his rights were interfered with, that somebody, interfered with his rights. And that's, if the United States Supreme Court understands that basic rule so fast, and they don't care if you're out if you're the President of the United States, they don't care. The United States Supreme Court knows that rule so simple. I am telling you, all your district court judges know that same rule too. Is there a man to come forward, yes or no? So if the United States Supreme Court judges all know that simple rule, I'm telling you, every single judge that you see knows that simple rule, too. Is there a man who's going to come forward and claim...
We should all come forward and say Obama is not my president.
He's not that? Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. You'd have to be subject to his... you'd have to be a U.S. citizen for him to be your president.
Yeah, I'm not a U.S. citizen, so he doesn't come into my purview.
That's what's great with me. I love that. I love that. The logic I do is say, watch this. Now I have a right. Now watch. Now I don't have the right. Now watch. I have a right. Now I don't have a right. So like you could declare you have. You could see it's called exercising your rights. That's exactly what it's called. Anytime you see a Supreme Court ruling, it says they interfere with his to exercise his rights, and it's always interfered with. It's not those other words you guys like using a lot of times. But it's interference with rights, and you have the free choice to exercise. Like you could exercise your left leg right now if you want to. You could pick it up and down if you want to. You have the right to exercise your leg. And when you don't want to exercise that right, you don't have to. And that's what we say to people. What happened if you were on Al Jazeera's Airlines and the Palestinians took over and they said, all United States citizens come forward so we could slit your throat and throw you out of the plane? Are you going to say you're a U.S. citizen, or at that moment of time you're going to say, parlez-vous français, no speaking English, You're going to just all of a sudden deny that you're a U.S. citizen. Of course you are. So sometimes it's beneficial to be a U.S. citizen, and then sometimes it's not a benefit. So don't want to accept it. If the benefit is going to be a burden, you don't have to exercise at that time.